everybody, to the Give It podcast for blurs, for nerds. If you have a fandom, you are most certainly welcome here. Of course, I'm hosting most Black Spartan. Of course, the man to my left, you're right. And I just read his caption. What do you have for us today, sir?
Happy 69th anniversary, Godzilla.
Godzilla -1. With that being said, guys, we are the Give It podcast, much like the WWE of old. We do have choice language, but we try to keep it to a minimum. At the same time, guys, there may be trailers that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers. So viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, how do we start this? Well, pretty much, we got to start with the elephant in the room, Joe. This is about the only way I can go about this.
Iteration of Tokyo for the 38th time, or which elephant in the room are we talking about? We have multiple.
Let's start with the main one. Is there a problem in Marvel?
Yes and no. We seem to be in a revolving door of Marvel. MCU is dead. MCU is back. MCU is dead. MCU is back. It's like every other project, either the MCU is dead, and the other half of the projects, MCU is back. Like there's no consistency. It comes back more than the Phoenix, and Gene gets tired of doing that every so often.
Well, let me give some examples. As you can see right here, of course, report from IGN. Marvel is kind of going through a restructuring, if you will. We've recently found out that the Blade movie does have a new writer, the same guy. Actually, it's a new writer and director, the same director that directed Marvel's Punisher. So if you've seen you've seen the John Burton Punisher, that guy's going to be directing Blade, which I have no issue with. But what we did find out, guys, is that the original Blade idea was supposedly having our famous vampire hunter eventually in the background and have a full-on female-led cast, which, again, I kind of cringe a little bit because we actually haven't seen Blade since Blade Trinity. Of course, he's been in various animated series. We've heard the voice at the end of the Eternals as we see Kit's character pick up the Ebony Sword. But that's just one of the issues. But go ahead, Joe.
Does this mean? Well, we all know this was a particular iteration of the script. So what you're telling me is they were going to Captain Caveman him.
Pretty much.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Blade yell "Unga Bunga" and stick a vampire, but that's just me.
Yeah, but they were wanting to basically have him be relegated to a role in his own movie, and I thought that was a little considering the fact that the Godfather of the MCU deserves a better movie than that. That's just my opinion. But that's just one thing.
What does Lou Ferrigno have to do with this?
So what?
What does Lou Ferrigno have to do with this?
I wouldn't call him the Godfather, but also
he had TV movies. We're not bringing up the two Captain America movies. We know better than that.
I was going to say too.
Death and Trial of the Incredible Hulk is the start of the Marvel movies.
It wasn't very good, but that being said, the other idea that was coming up.
Cameos.
Say what? What do you say, Joe?
They have Stan Lee cameos.
Yeah, but I mean that was kind of his deal. God rest his soul. But anyway, this was also another idea they brought up, which was I thought was odd. I wanted to bring this up with you, Joe. That because of Marvel and the fact of them grabbing ideas, they at one point were going to try to bring back the original Avengers cast for a new movie. And when I saw this, I was like, wait. So we're going to basically bring back the original OG cast, which means that you're bringing back Iron Man and Black Widow. However, let's kind of be honest, if we're following the MCU storyline, neither one of them are a part of the earthly realm anymore. So that's why I'm wondering, are these warning signs that we're seeing? Because keep in mind, we do have a trailer for Marvel, for Echo that we're going to be playing very soon. But I just want to throw this out to you, Joe, just because those couple of things that have been informed to us about the MCU, and again, with the over heavy ad printing for the Marvels, should we be concerned that this second telling of the MCU is not as crisp as the Infinity Saga?
So we'll tackle the first one, which is bringing back the original cast of the Avengers. I
Hmm.
actually have no problem with this because you can tell a lost tale. You can tell a mission of the original cast between 1 and 2. I mean, let's face it, Captain America Civil War was Mighty Avengers versus Secret Avengers.
Hmm.
They are also, we have the untold story tales of the second iteration of the Avengers. That was shown at the end of Age of Ultron. We only saw one mission with them, and that was at the start of Civil War. Yes, the start of
Yeah,
Civil War.
the
Um,
Allen Commandos. Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, there's no problem with having something like that happen. We can say they fought the Wrecking Crew. We could say they could do an actual version of Gravitron as opposed to the crap version they did in Ages of Shield.
well,
Um,
yeah.
to
Go, go.
the second question, they don't have any other way to advertise Marvels right now because SAG is still on or not screen at. Yeah, SAG is still on strike,
It's still
so
going on, right? Right.
they still cannot promote any other way than what they are now, and they need to be promoting. I mean, technically, the only person that can legally do any press is the cat.
True. But at the same time, the reason why I bring that up is that do you remember the ad heavy Quantum Mania? Like this was before the strike, before the strikes for SAG and the writers could actually happen. Remember how Quantum Mania was heavily advertised?
Well, that was because that was the end cap for Phase 4, which was supposed to lead into all the Jonathan Majors King stuff, which has not really lifted off the ground outside of Loki,
Right.
which the Jonathan Majors situation in and of itself is slowly starting to become an albatross on its own.
True, even though that was another thing that they were because of Jonathan Major's issues outside the MCU, they were going to try to fast forward Doctor Doom or like everybody asked, it's like you have X-Men and you have Fantastic Four. What are you really waiting on at this point?
So I had a conversation with a few friends. It's like, well, who'd you cast for Doom? It's like, no one. Doom should be like Thanos. You cast a voice.
Pretty much.
It's like
I
at
agree with
that
that.
point, I don't care if they're black. I don't care if they're Indian. I don't care if they're Asian. They got to just have the voice of Doom. That's it.
Mhm.
That's all you need. I mean, for God's sakes, half the time Doom isn't even Doom. It's just a Doom bot. So what
And
does it matter?
you're right. It's a Doom bot that's masked. You don't know if he's white. You don't know if he's black. You don't know anything except the fact that he better have a kick-ass monologue. That's
And that's
it.
the thing that kind of bothers me is because this group immediately went into, well, you can't race swap every role. It's like, we haven't race swapped that many roles in the MCU in the grand scheme of things.
Hmm.
Like, what about Wonder Man? It's like the show's canceled and it doesn't matter. I'm not going to speak ill of the actor that was cast as Wonder Man, but Wonder Man series, anyways, like that doesn't bring anything to the table.
Pretty much.
Unless, like, Wonder Man was going to be a new love interest for Wanda, but according to that new MCU book, Wanda is literally dead. We
Yeah.
don't believe it, by the way.
Of course
But
we don't believe it.
the Jonathan Major things, now they're focusing on the fact that he
Mhm.
is kind of a tyrant on set, which was brought up. Those allegations were brought up during
Mhm.
the actual arrest. I believe his agency, the CAA, has dropped him,
Uh,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
well, they get
yeah,
updated. They
yeah.
did. And we want him to have a fair trial. We already know he's innocent on the first one because that woman's got multiple arrest warrants out for her and literally fed the country. So,
Pretty much.
and he's willing to work with them on that one. But, your conduct on set is a whole different ballgame.
True.
You can't be like that in any workplace. You can't be like that.
And of course, that
So,
does come back, and you're right, that does come back to haunt you. And again, this is why I said this is where someone brings up, and again, I was going to bring this up with Joe, and I can't remember if you said this or I said this, so feel free to correct me on this. There was a saving grace out of all this if Marvel decides to do it, and it would make complete sense. And I kind of have to hold off on this because it's going to go into Loki because
mhm.
Loki explored this, and I'm pretty sure you said this already, but I'm gonna wait until we get to Loki and bring that up. That there is a way to actually save the MCU.
The other thing that they're really, really going with the Marvels, and I wish they hadn't spoiled this, is they are really teasing something X-Men related is going to happen in the Marvels.
Well, that's the breaking case of breaking case. Everything goes to shit. That is the
You're not
breaking.
wrong.
That between X-Men and Fantastic Four, that is the break this glass in case shit happens. And right now, it shit happens. But speaking of things that are not shit, and again, like I said before, we do have a trailer. Thank you, Joe, for this. That out of Marvel Studios, they did show the trailer for Echo. So if you haven't seen it, here it is.
One
Go ahead.
One caveat: this is now officially stated. This is a TVMA series.
So again, TVMA. Don't let the kids watch.
Maya. I see everything that you are. I always have. Don't be afraid. You have so much pain in you. You. So much rage. That you can't contain it. You and I are the same. So, who's the monster?
Okay, so guys, as you can see right there, that's the trailer for Marvel Studios Echo. As you see, will be on Hulu and Disney Plus. As Joe has pointed out, and we will stress this very heavily, it is TVMA, which means that again, this is a don't let your kids watch this situation. You've been warned. Now, when it comes to Echo, guys, I know I don't have a lot of information on Echo outside of Hawkeye and from what I've seen from there. So I'm kind of curious to see because I'm starting to get a lot of the girl with the dragon tattoo vibes, which again, great movie. You haven't seen it. And the fact they're trying to really explore Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, which I can watch that dude all day play Kingpin because he to me is the quintessential Kingpin. So I'm kind of curious to see where they're going to go with this. Joe, your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I'm kind of at two worlds on this. Seeing Vincent D'Onofrio, this is kind of makes it seem like it's a stopgap to Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that we have Hispanic representation, Native American representation, disability representation. So people get that in a superhero. Also, right now, and I hate saying this, I really do, but
Go for it.
she is kind of deaf Elektra, the way this is being portrayed.
I can see that.
Also, a lot of this has been thrown around. If it wasn't for Vincent D'Onofrio, no one's asking for this series. Like, they are not seeing the point of this. They don't understand why. When I asked this, it's like an Urban Anime Lounge and a couple of my other friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, look, here's the thing that we're getting. We're getting the Native American representation for superhero, Hispanic representation for superheroes, disability representation for superheroes. Like, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But in the grand scheme of things, no one's asking for an Echo series because she was not that big of a breakout character in Hawkeye. Like, she was there, she was a part of it, but
she
let's be
wasn't.
real. The breakout character in Hawkeye that was not either Bishop or Barton was Yelena.
Of course.
And I feel like we do need this series down the road because Echo has been connected to Moon Knight, definitely connected to Hawkeye, connected to Daredevil. She was at one point the host to a fraction of the Phoenix Force. And if this happens when some of the X-Men are exposed, we can open up to other X-Men like Warpath from the Native American side and stuff like that. But like, I don't understand why we're not getting an Elektra series if this is what we're looking for, because a lot of this kind of like screams more Elektra than it does anything else. Because this is just, like I said, a stopgap to Daredevil.
Which again, that's what they're banking on for Born Again. Which it's getting a longer episode count than any other Disney series, so it makes sense. But you're right, it is a stopgap. Yes, without Vincent D'Onofrio's character not being a linchpin to it all. I mean, I'm curious to see what they do with it, because again, for me, Echo is not. To me, Echo, in my opinion, to me is a lesser known character. But to give her own story, that must mean they have a lot of faith in the series. And like you said, love the representation across all fields in this upcoming show. But as me and Joe said, it's TVMA. Don't you let your kids watch it? That's on you.
That is the reason why it is simultaneously also going to be on Hulu, where a lot of their more adult stuff can go.
Right. So again, you let your kids watch it. It's on you. It is don't blame us. It's on you.
Yeah.
But with that being said, guys, we do have some video game news. One of my favorite fighting games. I'm pretty sure Joe. You love Tekken, or you hate Tekken? I can't remember.
I am known to play Dragunov. Yes.
So that being said, guys, Tekken 8, as we're waiting for it to come out next year, has 2 new trailers that have came out for it. One trailer that we're going to show has a bit of the OG crowd in it, and I'm surprised they picked. But here's the trailer.
These are the fists of a champion! Avenged!
فليبث الكل منا خسارته.
Your fate is already decided.
食べさせてもらおう。プレゼントしよう。マーベラス。
排除します。
罪と共に生きろ。孤独な戦いこそが贖罪だ。お前は消えろ。
Now, what's crazy, guys, as you saw right there, was a lot of former OGs. Now, really quickly, before we get into that November 2nd, because I know a lot of people are looking at their watches and going, that was yesterday. But before we get to that character, Joe, I got to ask you really quick. The fact that we saw Panda, Sabina, Lee Sholan, Elisa, and Devil Jin. I mean, are we liking it? Are we not liking it? Are we getting a kind of an overbloated roster? What do you think?
I would have preferred more new characters. There's no such thing as an overloaded roster. I mean, we're slowly coming close to Tekken Tag Tournament 2 in terms of volume, and a large roster means more diversity, means just bigger crowds and better tournaments, especially considering how much the game engine has shifted from Tekken 7 to Tekken 8. But I would like to see more new characters. I mean, we're getting ready to look at a new one, but like, there are just like, I'd rather Devil Jin be an install for Jin rather than its own separate character. I don't understand. I guess Panda is finally going to have a different move list from Kuma, which will be nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume at some point Ganryu is going to show up because he always does. Or Michelle, if Michelle hasn't already shown up.
No, she hasn't. I had to think about that. No, she hasn't. She's not.
Like I said, I would just prefer new characters as opposed to returning ones. Even though Dragunov is in there and I use him, still I would prefer a new character.
Gotcha. And the funny part about this new character, it's already get. You know what? I just gotta play the trailer first. So
He's just not this. He's just a Metal Gear character.
Yes, but there's comments that I will.
Or I mean, he's Noctis with Mitsune. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Female ninja. That's all it is. It's Noctis with Mitsune.
Oh, that's not that part. There's comments after their reactions. But anyway, as we said, guys, before I get into that crazy mess, this is the new character that was revealed yesterday, also for Tekken 8. It is Noctis, but man, has he aged. Check it out.
Omelette du fromage.
Les couchers de soleil sur la Seine me rappellent ce que je dois protéger. Je vais m'en charger.
Get ready for the next battle! Tekken 8! New Challenger!
Accepte ta défaite. Tu as perdu d'avance.
Victor Chevalier!
Il y a de l'amélioration, Raven.
Bon appétit.
Soyons efficaces. Échec et mat. Nous sommes les seuls à pouvoir contrôler l'équilibre des puissances de ce monde.
I'm not mad about it, but why am I mean, all I can sit there and say after seeing the new character that they just revealed just yesterday, it's like someone took the transporter and basically gave him a sword and said, "Here, go fight in Tekken." But that's his name, Victor Chevalier, because he's French. What do you think, Joe? Because I got to go off of these comments, but I just wanted your impressions on what you think of the newest character.
Omelette du fromage. Now, I mean, like I said, he's Noctis with Mitsune, Kitsune, whatever her name, Ninja Fox girl that took Worlds last year in a mirror match.
Yeah.
That's all I see with this, other than the fact that he really probably should be fighting Raiden. on
Yeah.
top of a Metal Gear.
Oh yeah, the comments. Well, the reason I'm getting that really quickly, guys. There's comments if you go to the Bandai Namco Entertainment America. Let's just say a lot of female gamers are appreciating the Zaddy vibes. I didn't call it. It's just there, which means it's probably gonna be cosplays gonna be following afterwards. I do like his play style though. But at first I was like, oh, so him and Raven have a connection. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Both are
So
assassins.
he founded the Raven Force.
Yeah. And that was the connection. That's all I was like, okay, I can live with that because he kind
No,
of
if you go read his thing over at the Bandai website, this man has done more than he should have in his entire lifetime.
Nice.
He's basically Wilson with a sword.
Wilson with a sword. That's funny. But as you can see, guys, Tekken, I mean, and we still got one more. There's still one more character they're revealing, and the game's not even out yet. The game will actually be out next year. Hopefully by then, I hope to have a PS5 or Xbox Series X. I really want to play it on that. But overall, like Joe said, it's like with this roster staying more growing, Tekken Tag Tournament is definitely gonna be confirmed for this. I see no issues with this. I just want to play it badly. But what's the issue you see, Joe?
We only have 2 new characters out of this entire roster.
True, but it does leave the area open. I mean, what we saw for Tekken 7, there were characters that were added much later. But I see your point.
Although I do say there is something interesting I noticed. The guy's ground strike had a geyser effect where it hit the person even in the side dodge. I wonder if that confirms Terry somehow for a geyser effect.
Oh, we will. If we got Terry,
we had Geese last time.
If we got Terry, do you understand the level of people will be like, wait a minute, Terry's in a Tekken game? Terry's in a Tekken game?
It's just Wild Ambition all over again.
It won't take much.
By the way, if I will be greatly surprised if the last character reveal is not some bizarre Franken or Robo Heihachi at this point.
Don't do that because that's basically wishing into
Well, everybody keeps saying it's going to be Akuma. It's like, guys, that was probably a one-time thing. That's not happening again.
Or we get a leaner version of Jack.
No, we did already get a new version of Jack.
No, I'm talking a leaner version, not the Jack that's currently there now, but like an off one, like a variant.
Yeah, that's called Alyssa.
Yeah, fair. Can't argue that. Can't argue that. With that being said, guys, we're gonna move forward to some quick notes. A game that is near and dear to my heart, Destiny 2. I'm gonna be honest, I'm slightly concerned. During this week, Bungie, now being acquired by Sony, had sat there and said when they got reacquired by Sony that there would be no layoffs, that everything would be fine, that they will be able to focus on the final shape, which is basically telling the last part of the light and dark story for Destiny 2. Unfortunately, in the last 48 hours, there have been multiple layoffs at Bungie, including their lead composer, which very strangely is odd to me, considering the fact that the soundtrack on Destiny has been awesome. But at the same time, not only has there been massive layoffs at Bungie, the final shape has actually been pushed back from its January release all the way to June 2024. And Marathon, which was going to be Bungie's next IP, which was also supposed to be released in 2024, has been pushed back to 2025. I get it in this day and age. Companies are either merging, being bought out, or things of that nature. However, in the world of video games, we should be very concerned because you don't believe me? Listen to the Call of Duty crowd right now for Modern Warfare 3. A lot of them are not happy. And I do mean not happy at all for pre-ordering a $70 game, and the campaign was far shorter, and it sounds like it's a rehash of old maps. But then again, it's Call of Duty. You're really getting what you're paid for. But on the Destiny side of things, I am concerned because I've been playing Destiny since the first run. I mean, I'm still running with my Titan and my Hunter. Not really a fan of Warlocks, but hey, that's on you if that's what you choose to do. But yeah, it's like I'm concerned because Bungie seems to be going through this whole cycle again. Like Joe said with the MCU, you know, you're the MCU's great, then it's bad, then it should be worried, then MCU's on the right track, and they start this whole cycle all over again. And the problem with Bungie is Bungie does the same thing. Bungie could have a Bungie can have a great game followed by a great DLC. Then DLC is crappy. Then they have layoffs. Then they hire new people. Then they revamp themselves by giving us Gambit. Then again, you give us another crappy DLC, and so far and so forth. I'm tired of the cycle, especially the fact that the final shape is supposed to be the piece de resistance for Destiny 2, because we kept on wondering if there's going to be a Destiny 3. Bungie has already said there's going to be one, but they keep adding DLCs to 2. Whereas the final shape is supposed to literally be the last DLC for Destiny 2, which unfortunately now we won't be able to play till mid-year of next year. But again, it's one of those things that I just don't understand when it comes to Bungie or Infinity Ward, that you have these massive online player games, and they just don't seem to get it right. And the only thing I can think of is that it kind of reminds me, Joe, and I just want your input on this. It kind of reminds me of what they were talking about during the strikes, because we know the VFX artists, especially over at Marvel, have unionized and will be and already are striking. Of course, SAG is still striking. Could it be the fact that and I just want to throw this out there, could it be the fact that a lot of these coders, programmers, video game designers are really under the gun of creating something great just to meet corporate deadlines, or do you think it's something else?
Well, the composer thing is super weird, so I'm wondering if they are laying people off rather than letting them be poached. Because the video game industry is incredibly volatile. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at Japan's industry, programmers and every facet of that industry is just cherry picked and poached nonstop. So I'm wondering if that's the case. But like Destiny 2 did not fill me with great confidence when they literally said we're going to be fridging some of our content to make way for other content, when, like, why not just have everything accessible and let everybody do it? Like, if you're going to fridge something, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Let's look at comic book fridging. That is also wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a sign of things.
I mean,
I'm not sure what to expect with Marathon, because the 3-person multiplayer squad shooter has already become passe, so they may need to rethink that anyways.
True.
For Destiny, I mean, you guys have gone through enough as it is. I don't even know what avatar you're on right now. Are you on fire? Are you on water? What is your avatar these days?
I mean, I would say solar. I like solar, but then I like stasis, but strand's not bad either. It just depends.
Or the last Airbender reference.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your playing style though, because a lot of people, if you ask them, they'll be like, "Well, what's your power?" It's like, "Oh, well, I like strand. Well, I like stasis." Very few people like void. It just depends. But like you said, there are some things that are getting stale. But you would think that for Destiny, for these type of MMO games, give us all the content that you can, but don't give us rehashed content. Don't give us the same weapons. I mean, if Borderlands can give us literally an infinite number of different weapons across the scale, you're telling me you can't do the same? I mean, Borderlands game was nothing but about how many guns you can get.
Yeah, but that also came away stale after the 3rd game.
That's because they ran it. That's because the 3rd story, just to be honest, Borderlands 3 was kind of a weaker story. 2 and 1 were probably the best ones.
And the best one out of all of them was Tales of the Borderlands.
Because they took their time with it. That's the big thing. Tales from the Borderlands took a lot more time to talk about the story of Handsome Jack than 1 and 2 did. So I can argue that. But again, like I said, I will still roll with Bungie till the wheels fall off. I'm just concerned now because it just seems like a lot of this news that's coming out is definitely not favorable. But what is favorable, Five Nights at Freddy's did well. I mean, think about this. We keep on talking about movies. Five Nights at Freddy's. Look, I'm to be honest with you guys, if it wasn't for my older son, I would not know what Five Nights at Freddy's was. I mean, I know it's one of those. I know it has a book series. I know it has video games. I know it's more of a jump scare, survival horror, just that type of game. Didn't realize kids were really into it that much. But anyway, the movie itself had a great debut. Currently, right now, it's sitting 132 million globally. I believe a little bit over 80 million domestically. But that's just the theaters. Peacock right now has on Peacock, where you can currently watch it, is one of the highest streaming movies since being put on Peacock. And it's only been there for less than a week. So if there's anything that goes to show you, and this is one of the first releases from Blumhouse, which they took over the adaptation for the story, goes to show you that a lot of success went into this. Like I said before, this is kind of again, if you are a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, please let us know. I'm not knocking it because the more I watch it, because my son was telling me about it, and I went back and did a little research on it, I realized that I really didn't miss out on a gem of a story. Jump scare games really are not my thing, but again, this is geared toward kids, and kids apparently love dead animatronics and a rundown Chuck E. Cheese, which is basically what the story is, but that's only the half of it. But either way, I just wanted to point that out, that there can be some success in video game adaptations, and this, right along with One Piece, just seems to be hitting the mark. And I honestly think that these companies that become very successfully video game adaptations, that the only reason why is they pay more attention to the source material. That's the only thing I can think of, Joe, unless you could add more to it, because to me, I'm like, you have all the source material. We said the same thing about Marvel and DC movies, especially DC movies where they decide to go away from the source material. We kept saying the entire time, it's right there for you to use, write a story off of it. Five Nights at Freddy's did exactly that. And also, shout out to Matthew Lillard, because I didn't know he was in the movie until the very end, and now I have to go back and go watch it now, because to me, he's one of the most talented actors in Hollywood that really doesn't get his roses. But Joe, anything you want to add to that?
I watched it and fell asleep in the middle.
Damn.
I was that bored.
Damn.
Also, it's only rated PG-13.
Well, I can see that. I mean, you can't go too far.
Like, I understand it's a jump scare simulator, and the game is only as popular as the person you watch play it, meaning very good because it was mostly Markiplier, who was supposed to have a scene in this thing because of his notoriety, but conflicting schedules did not let it happen. But no, this was boring. No one did a bad job, and no one did an outstanding job. The movie only did the Five Nights at Freddy things really once, and really loved the song from the old 80s band, The Romantics. Really, really liked that one song from them. And then I fell asleep about midway through. So I had to get back and rewind and see what I missed.
I'm gonna watch it. I know my nephews and my son went to go watch it all together, and they all loved it. And again, it's geared toward kids. I get it. I still gotta watch it just because one of my favorite actors is in it, so I want to give it at least a good run through. But let us know in the comments what you thought about Five Nights at Freddy's. Do you think it was good? Do you think it was bad? Do you think they could have went a little bit farther? Like I said, we understand there's things in Five Nights at Freddy's, and I had to point that out after doing a little bit of research. There's certain things in the game and in the books that you simply cannot do on a movie without it having a rated R rating. And there were a couple of things in there which I'm surprised they got away with for PG-13, honestly.
It's because there was not very graphic. Like, anything graphic was shown either off screen or in heavy shadow.
There was one, now that I think about it, there was one scene that was kind of heavily shadowed, but I mean, anyway, you watch the movie, you could definitely see it. Also, Cliff Belinsky, which is a man I have to thank, first and foremost, gave me one of my most beloved shooters of all time, which is Gears of War. He was the co-creator for Gears of War. He has sat there and said, while speaking to comicbook.com, quote unquote, I believe Gears needs a bit of a reboot, like God of War had. And I've always said that. Phil Spencer has my number. I'm happy to consult. Now, what is he talking about? Well, after Gears 5, it didn't really get the reception that the previous Gears games had gotten from 1, 2, 3. So a lot of people believe that Gears 5 really didn't match the same essence as the first 3 games did, and even also in Judgment. So what they're pretty much saying at this point is that, and again, I have to point this out, guys, because I'm not even sure myself that hi Obi. Oh, Obi mad. But what I'm pretty much saying is, guys, in that sense that, let me ask you this question, Joe. Do you think that Gears of War needs a reboot?
I mean, it's Cliffy B, so I never believe anything this man says. So, there's that in and of itself. But, I don't think it needs a reboot. I think it told its story, and then the story kept going regardless of what anybody else thought. Like, 3 was like the finishing of the story. It did need to go forward. I don't care about Marcus Phoenix's kid. I don't think anybody did. An origin story for the rest of the team was nice, but still I don't feel like it's needed. Like I said, it's not that I don't agree with them. Rebooting the series is always fine. Getting a new fresh coat of paint on something is always good and well, but again, I do not trust Cliffy B. The man is a known liar, among other things that he has been caught with.
Mm-hmm.
In certain hard drives and flash drives in places of reputable things. Let's not to mention the man had a class action lawsuit filed against him for aliens, colonial marines alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care what he says, because now separating him alone, I don't care what he says. But going back to the topic at hand,
Mm-hmm.
if Gears of War, if you think Gears of War needs it, it needs it. But for me, this is what was it coming out at the same time as Gears of War? It was the same thing practically, done by Guerrilla Games with the Space Germans for PlayStation.
Space, Warhammer?
Well, Killzone.
Oh, okay, Killzone. Yeah, I can see that.
Killzone and Gears of War told its story, and then they went to sleep. Let them sleep.
Well, I'll say it like this, because I had to explain it to somebody. I said, as a person that still goes back and plays the games in numerical fashion, the story of Marcus Phoenix can't be told anymore after 3. I mean, to me, 3 was his swan song. So, of course, moving on to his son, which is basically another.
Son in itself is a plot hole, because they said all the women in 3 couldn't bear children.
That was I thought was
specifically Anya, because
right.
she even says, "Hey, to prevent anything happening in case of capture, we're sterile."
Yeah, and that's the wild part. That's the part where I was like, did they miss it? Did they just kind of say that was canon, or did they say that was, they just kind of just ignored that part? Because if they did, okay, cool. I understand there's certain things that are canon and not canon. You want to make it canon, or you want to make it canon in order to tell a story. Cool, not gonna knock it. But do I think Gears of War needs a reboot? I don't. I just think we need Gear 6. I think we need. I mean, you already gave us Gears. You gave us Gears 4. We had Gears 5. Just give us 6. Finish the story. That's all you really have to do. All you really have to do is just finish the story. That is basically it. And I still think with Kara and her story, I think it's great. A lot of people didn't like the whole open world thing at the end of 5. I personally enjoyed it because it gave a little bit of a difference, but I'm not knocking it. But I don't think it needs a reboot. And I know that, and to me, that kind of seems like, and to me, that really seemed like a guy that was just trying to put himself back in the limelight, I guess, because like you said, Mr. Cliff is already in hot water for a number of things. Some that we're just gonna say really should have him under a jail right now. But I just found it interesting that not only is this man free, but he believes that he can reboot God of War. I'm sorry, not God of War, Gears of War. Which I say to him, no, sir. Phil Spencer's already said we are getting Gear 6. We just may not see it till 2025 or later, and that's fine. I've waited 10 years to play Final Fantasy VII Remake. I can wait a few years to play the next Gears of War. That's all I'm saying. But moving right along, Joe, I gotta ask, sir, before I bring up this next article, do you believe Sony should? Did you seen the news about Sony's new Slim PS5?
It's the same price as if you bought a normal one. It just has an add-on feature.
Yeah. Do you know what they said about the add-on feature?
No, what did they say about the add-on feature?
Oh, well, I have to call what it is. So Sony's Slim PS5 that you're seeing right there has a BBL. The BBL that I'm referring to is the disc, because initially this right here is detachable because it is sold separately. They are only selling a digital version of the Slim PS5. If you want the disc, the actual optical disc that comes with it, it's an additional $50. But that's not the only caveat. The other caveat is, in order to use and this is the part, Joe, that either you're going to squinge or say this sounds like Sony altogether. The only way that you can actually use that optical disc drive to go along with your Slim PS5 that you're already paying additional money for, you need internet connectivity.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, internet connectivity for a detachable disk drive to work with your PS5, with your Slim PS5. Sony, how greedy of a bastard are you?
They'll have to walk that back at some point.
That's the part where I when I first saw that, I said, okay, so your Slim PS5, which is supposed to be your answer to your shipping issues, which now you can practically get a PS5 anywhere. But the fact of the matter is, guys, the Slim PS5 costs more than the regular PS5. And that's without the disk drive. And if you decide to get the disk drive, it's additional money and you need internet connectivity. It is not a one and done. You need the internet at all times for the disk drive to actually work.
I thought the Slim was the same as a disc version of the original PS5.
Nope. Yeah, the Slim version, when they release this, it is digital only unless you get the disk drive.
No, but what's the price point?
The price point for the Slim is $455.
Okay. So with the disk drive, that's $500. So that's exactly the same price as a standard PS5 with disk drive.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, here's how I'm looking at this, and you guys, please feel free to say anything. I'm not seeing a problem with this because, given the current state of inflation, this console should cost more than what it technically should.
But the fact that a Slim is the same as a full size.
Now, full size is, yes, but no, this is cheaper than, no. Full size digital only is $399.
Mm-hmm.
And with disc is $599. $499.
It's $499.
It's $450 minus the disc with the disc, so it's the same price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the problem I'm having with this. This is supposedly smaller form fitting, and it
smaller, better venting, and more storage.
But still the same as a full size unit.
Still the same as a full size unit because you get more memory storage. So I think this gives you 2 terabytes.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, well then that makes up for the cost because the full size technically really only gives you 850 gigs because the 50 gigs needs to run the operating system. So this gives you more space for games at a cheaper cost with an optional $50 drive. So no, this is actually a decent deal that I see, especially when other consoles are going up because of inflation.
But at the same time, though, I'll put it this way. I can understand if you stick with digital versions only. Mm-hmm. But if you're like me and I like disc to me will always be this to me will always be the go-to answer. So I always feel like you should always have a disc. I know a lot of places are trying to get away from it. I know video game companies would love nothing more than just do digital, but I would think that if you're just going to do digital, the quality and how you get games out to us should be way faster. But that being said, even if you did decide to go with Slim PS5, could you be okay with the fact not only paying for additional optical disk drive, that you constantly need an internet connection for it to work?
So it said it needed an internet connection to pair.
Yeah.
Is it? Does the article go into stating it needs to be online always to work, or just online to pair? Because those are two different things.
Online always to work. Now the article I pulled up doesn't pull that. That's directly from Sony's website.
Okay. I mean, you and I both know from tech backgrounds, those are two completely different things.
Yeah. But I thought that was crazy. I mean, I can get the one time you can get it to pair, but that just lets me know that okay, if you're getting it to pair, that means that the actual hardware itself does not have that hardline
connection. It has to be remote. It's a remote. It's just a docked remote unit.
Pretty much. So that's the problem I have with that. Now, if that's the case, I'm on the opposite side. Like for me, if you're gonna do that, then in my opinion, just go get original PS5. That's just me. I'd rather just go get an original PS5, go get a 2 terabyte nano SD drive, install it. I basically have what I need. But for all those that love slim form fitting things, I assume this is up your alley. I assume this will work. But for me, I'll just stick with the original because I think so. This feels like a money grab for me. But what are you gonna say?
How much is a proprietary 2 gig drive that can go in a PS5 these days?
I have to look it up, but I could have sworn it was maybe ballpark. I want to say probably 175 lowest, 250 at the highest, if memory serves me right.
Well, there's your upside. If you want to extend the memory, you're paying an additional $150 to $200, making even the original consoles go up to anywhere between $600 to $700.
True, but still, you would think at that level, at that price point.
I'm also not defending Sony, by the way. If they pull BS, they pull BS.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where I'm looking at it, it's like, this is not as bad as it says it is, because you're getting something that will not sound like a jet engine, can fit into most bookcases finally, and has 2 gigs.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue the size, but then again, that's the hardware they use. I'm sorry, go.
And like I said, consoles are actually going up in price due to inflation.
Well,
This is still roughly staying the same, which is the biggest boom. Like, people are pointing that price, and I'm going to be the one to point out, it's like, technically it's staying the same.
I mean, prices have always been the same for most consoles. People just either don't remember or never actually looked into how much PS1s, 2s, and 3s, even 4s.
No, but I mean, if you look at the Xbox stuff, they're actually raising console prices due to inflation.
Yeah, I would disagree with that. Yeah, but no, it's just to me it feels like a money grab. But like I said, for all those, like you said, that like smaller form-fitting consoles, they should be available soon. But speaking of consoles, Joe, you have played Marvel's Spider-Man 2, you and some other friends of mine, and I'm jealous of you all. Spoiler free, sir, would you be able to give your impression on it?
Yes, I have platinum the game. It is also very platinum friendly. There is something tedious in the game you can do, but it does not count towards completion, which is a bonus. It is merely there to, you need more prizes. But I really love the game. I like the story. I like where they're going with possible DLC. My only problem I have with the game is that Miles and Peter feel very the same combat-wise.
Okay,
and
so they didn't change a lot up. So they didn't change a lot up outside of a few things.
Well, they have their own same power set. Like Miles still has his bioelectricity, but now Peter has spider arms that come out of his back, despite the suit showing no existing ports in his back, and unless you're using the superior Spider-Man suit. But what I mean is they feel they have power set and then they have gadget set.
Okay.
Gadget set is uniform between the two. I don't like that. I feel like Miles should have his own gadgets and Peter should have his own gadgets because they work on very opposite ends of the scientific spectrum. Miles is more of a music guy,
Hmm.
and Genki is his hardware guy, while Peter is definitely runs his own hardware and IT.
Okay.
But Peter and Miles share roughly the same power set, especially later on down the road. So, like for example, Miles has Venom Punch. Well, now
Hmm.
because of the four arms, Peter has Spider Leg Assault. Miles has Venom Jump.
Hmm.
Peter has a thing where he hops on his back, his spider legs crouched down. He can kick up and lift up everybody, much like Venom Jump does.
Okay.
Uh, Miles has his unlimited power hands, which he can get later on towards the game, but that's already been shown multiple times.
Okay.
Peter has, I can shoot the end of my four spider arms into people and electrocute them. So they don't, even when other things change for them.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, I'm not going to spoil. That's an obvious thing. So when Peter gets the black suit and gets symbiote powers, they still feel very akin to Miles, and Miles feels still very akin to Peter. And I didn't really enjoy that. Like, there is some minor differentiation, but overall, they function the same,
Gotcha.
which I thought was kind of a take back because Miles is his own dude and Peter's his own dude. I want them to be very different Spider-Man outside of you're the Spider-Man with electricity, you're the Spider-Man with the alien suit.
So story wise, is it compelling?
How much of King in Black did you read?
How much what?
How much of King in Black did you read? Or Separation Anxiety?
Uh actually I need to refresh my memory on it. Let's just say half.
So, this is a really good story. I
Mhm.
wish I could speak to Miles, but we need somebody of that's a bit more black to do this justice. Look,
I've heard.
I can tell everybody how wonderful it is,
Mhm.
but I'm Japanese and Italian. It's not going to mean as much coming from me as it will somebody of color. I'm
I have
very
an
nice.
answer. I have an answer from him. He'll be joining us, so he'll be able to help you out on that side.
Yeah, like I said, I can do nothing but sing praises, but it means something different to other people than what it means to me. I can't express that properly.
Okay.
Uh there's wonderful side stories. There's one that makes everybody cry, myself included.
Hmm.
You don't know I'm a cold, mean-hearted person who doesn't even cry at Grave of the Fireflies, but I will cry at this. Although as the older I get, the more Japanese man takes over, so I cry at almost anything now. For Peter, it's just another step of growing up, learning just how to grieve, how to let go, how to move forward in life. Craven makes a good villain until Venom just kind of politely pushes him off stage.
Hmm.
Um, it's a wonderful game. It's setting up for the third one. There's even been some stuff of if you look in apartments now, you notice some of the apartment belong to quite a bit of members of the Hand.
Interesting. Oh,
Which hasn't played into anything yet, but that's some strong hint of we're gonna get Daredevil DLC down the road. We know it.
nice.
Also, the fire,
Hmm.
yeah, the flame. That's a DLC waiting down the road.
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay. You kind of have my attention on that one, but go
so
ahead.
there's that. But I really enjoyed my time with it. I think everything's super well done. I wish we had more. There was just a lot of fun Easter eggs without spoiling anything.
Hmm.
Um, brush up on who's who of the Life Foundation symbiotes. You'll appreciate some characters down the road. I'll
Hmm.
tell Will about this later on. This is not a big spoiler. It has to deal with enemy mobs, but it's just one of those things that I noticed. versus other things. But the Life Foundation symbiotes do make an appearance in this game in some way, shape, and form.
All right, I'm gonna keep that in mind.
Like I said, I truly enjoyed it. It's just we got to get another person on here because,
You know
as I
what?
said, I cannot probably convey what this game means to me.
Well, if he wasn't traveling, because I just saw Tafari. Thanks Tafari for liking this. My bird's eye view partner on the other side, he's played it, and I didn't think about it because he's traveling to J1 Con right now. He could have jumped in and gave his side of it too, but that's okay. But we'll definitely revisit that because I have an mutual friend of ours that'll be able to explain the other side of that. But
Also,
really,
RoboCop, really good.
I was just about to ask you about that because I was thinking about Rogue City, but you said it's worth playing.
Oh yeah, no, it's like guys, I'll be honest with you. This game looks like a launch title PS4 game, but every surviving member of the RoboCop cast has come back to reprise the rules. You get to roll around in free roam mode in Detroit in the far off year of 2009. Solving things. I have given people tickets. I have saved people. I have, of course, shot people where they don't need to be shot. My main villain looks like a used car dealership owner from circa 1980. Everything about this game is wonderful, and it is canonically now RoboCop 3. Let us take away Jetpack RoboCop from our minds, people.
But do we get the grenade launcher?
Yeah, you can pick that up. It's a third weapon. It's a second weapon. So you get to actually, this is kind of a light RPG, similar to that Cyberpunk, where you do gain levels, you do slot in perks for RoboCop. You get more things going on. You upgrade abilities, upgrade dialogue, the ability to do more dialogue trees, stuff like that. Your big gun that you keep in the hip is infinite.
Nice.
You just get to have a secondary weapon that can be swapped out. Much as this is take on an 80 movie, almost everybody and their grandmother has an Uzi. I don't know. Still don't know why that was such a popular gun back in the day.
Easy to get a hold of, but I digress.
The Uzi became the AK-47 was to what the Uzi was back in the 80s.
I was gonna say, now that I think about the 80s, the Uzi was like the go-to gun for everything. Terrible aiming, terrible sights, but apparently it was very accessible. But no. But
I'm really enjoying it. I'm only really on the second level. I'm just like going around solving a murder right now using RoboCop vision.
Nice. Okay, so before we get to comic news, because the news that we do have related to Green Lantern is kind of related to the comic pool, so we're gonna have to wait on that one because they do go hand in hand. But Loki, how do I explain this? Because again, I can't explain this without giving details. So if we go into details up until now, sorry, you've been warned. What are you gonna say, Joe?
I can do it.
Go for it.
Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly.
I can go with that too, but I was gonna say Miss Minutes, you ain't shit.
Miss Minutes is kind of really stalkery.
Yeah.
She is an uncomfortable thing right now, and I think she's no longer played by Tara Strong.
No, she's not. She is not. But for all those, like I said before, like I said, there's no way to talk about the next to last episode of Loki without going into details. Catching up on episodes 4 and 5, we find out that, of course, Miss Minutes knew a lot more about Renslayer. She did tell her that Renslayer was initially the right hand of He Who Remains, which until he decided that everybody's memory should be wiped, including hers. She still believes that she can say the TVA, while the rest of the gang is working with Victor Timely, who discovered hot chocolate at the same time between him and OB, which I thought was really cool how they got to OB's name. I love the fact of how OB's name came to be, which I thought was pretty clever, as they tried to actually solve the temporal loom problem as things were exploding. Really fast forward, Victor Timely has a little bit of moment of bravery where he decides that he's going to go out and try to fix the loom and immediately becomes unraveled. Thought that was kind of interesting for a plot twist. And then as the actual loom seems to be exploding, Loki realizes that he can actually control where he is in time. Even though he tried earlier and didn't get anywhere, but now he's figured out how he can do it, rewinds himself back before the point of everything going to hell, and that's where it's currently at right now. So I like the fact that, of course, during episode 6, he actually was going through time finding everybody. I still say I still say, Joe, and correct me if I'm wrong here. I still say there's a connection between Sylvie and McDonald. She goes to the exact same spot where he finds her. And I can't help but wonder, of all the places she would end up during the temporal loop explosion, why does she wind up back there?
Oh, why does she want it back there? That's her safe spot.
I think there's something else besides that.
Oh no, that's just her safe place, because that's where she ended up at the end of Loki 1, and then she just got a job and she made herself a life, and she's just happy where she is.
Well,
But I mean,
I'd say like this. Like, if you really think about it, Mobius ended up at a jet ski as a jet ski salesman. B5 was a healthcare provider. Casey was, which I thought was interesting, because one of the supposed prisoners that escaped Alcatraz, his name was Casey. That was well done, by the way. And then he runs into OB, who's a fiction writer, but give him the TVA handbook and he can figure out how to travel through time. But Sylvie was the only person that ended up exactly where she left off. Now, you might be right. That might be a safe spot. And at the same time, the TVA system was taken down. So that means her and Loki can use magic now. So I just find it interesting that now that Loki can kind of time surf, if you will, he basically is his own Doctor Who at this moment. Go ahead.
The thing with Sylvie that I think we may be forgetting is that she cannot go back to her branch.
Right.
Because they pruned her branch and then she escaped.
Yeah.
So she has no place on the timeline to go back to.
Right.
So, which is why she goes to the branch that leads her to McDonald's, which is her safe space.
Which seems to be, but I just can't shake the fact there's something else. There's something else there besides it being a safe spot for her. I think there's still something else there. But again, that's just me. But
she's there in the 80s, so that means she's there when they have the McDonald's hot tray where the hots are hot and the colds are cold.
And the McRib is a constant thing too, which I think is interesting. The fact they're trying to bring that back. But no, it's just the fact that Loki now, because again, Loki, I think this season is also 6 episodes, which means that the next episode is the season finale. First and foremost, I have to say this. Jonathan Majors' character is a scene stealer. Him playing Victor Timely, it's perfect. It really draws you in anytime he's on scene. At the same time, Tom Hiddleston, dude, that's like, you showed it was so weird to see Loki and correct me if I'm wrong on this. Tell me if you got this. Tell me if you got this vibe, Joe. When Loki was trying to rally everybody, did you get like a Captain America sense on that one? Like,
oh yeah, no, he knew. I know what he was doing.
I was like, I kind of felt like that was going back to Thor. It was going back to Thor, like when Thor was taking him back. He's like, "Oh, is this what it feels like?" He says, "Yeah, I feel so righteous. I feel powerful." And I thought to myself, why do I feel like that was a dig at Thor a long time ago in a different movie? But it's weird to see this variant of Loki, and it did explain why he basically pruned himself. I am so glad it finally explained that, because I was like, you got to explain how you took yourself out. You really had to explain that, which they did. But I'm looking forward to the final episode of this season. I'm really curious to see where they're going to go with Loki, considering the fact Disney has had really great success with all its television series, despite people how they feel about She-Hulk. If you still feel different about She-Hulk, in my opinion, you never read a She-Hulk comic, because She-Hulk was great. She-Hulk television series was great. Hawkeye in itself was a great holiday. And speaking of holidays, you can watch Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a holiday series. We're up there with Die Hard. But I think it's interesting that what they do with these series is way different than what they're doing with the movies. But again, I got no issue with it. Looking forward to what happens on the final episode of the season. But Joe, any thoughts you want to add to that?
No, it's just been fun. Everybody's been good. Just can't wait to see the never-ending stream of Kangs in the final episode. That's what's going to happen. I guarantee it.
You think we're gonna see the
And then we're just going
the
to sit
scene?
there and sigh because more likely this will all be for naught.
So you think we're gonna see the scene where we saw the multitude of Kangs in that one off universe? So we could probably see Immortus.
Yeah, we're going to
Immortus
see
and-
like the giant Kang war or something.
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, we're
'Cause
going to
it's in the
see at least one of the big variations of Kang.
yeah, I can see that. But anyway, as we move on to comics, guys, I see that Joe is locked and loaded. Joe, did you want to cover the Green Lantern issue first, or did you want to go a different route?
I mean, we could talk about the Green Lantern thing, then talk about the book. I mean, the big hullabaloo right now with Green Lantern is the new Green Lantern, which is the Golden Age. Alan Scott, as some comic book people are aware, we are getting a mini Golden Age imprint, which covers Sandman, Wesley Dodds, Alan Scott, Green Lantern, and Jay Garrick, the Flash. The big thing about this is that Green Lantern is using all his royalties to donate to LGBTQ places, and of course, anti-gay backlash and hate has immediately risen up as the uninformed and the angry do. So there's just like it just angers me.
Real quick, I mean, not to cut you off, Joe, because I'm with you on this. First and foremost, it kills me how there are some comic book purists. I'm trying not to keep myself from going on a rant. That again, that this is Tim Sheridan, who as Joe has pointed out, is one of the writers for this Green Lantern. Sit there and says, quote unquote, Lily, for the first time, and I am an out queer writer telling a story with a lead character who's gay. Now, if you are not part of the LGBTQ plus community, that is completely fine. But at the same time, because you believe that your character in your eyes matches a certain etiquette, does not mean that it should be for everybody else. If you don't want to read it, simply put, don't read it. But you definitely are not empowered to go on social media and, number one, trash something that you never read. Number two, go after the writers and artists who are simply hired to be able to tell a story. And number three, it's representation. Me and Joe and several others across several different podcasts all say the same thing about representation, that it is needed, it is welcomed, it is not just related to color. It's not. It is also related to other things. It is related to not only color, but orientation, how you choose to live your life. The thing about it is, if you are someone like Mr. Sheridan, and you're a member of the LGBTQ plus community, I apologize for messing that up. The fact that you can write a story to where you can relate to it on a character that you have the honor of doing is a great thing. Now, if you can't relate to it, okay, fine, you can't relate to it. But there's no need to go after the artist or the writers with death threats. So I don't blame him that what he's doing is actually very well done. I think, giving the proceeds to I have really got to get better at that. Giving it to those charities. Yeah, my tongue and brain are not working right now. But the fact that you can give it to those charities to show that there's solidarity in there is, to me, a great thing. But if you are simply hating just because you made my character gay, okay.
To which I will add on this, Alan Scott's been gay for a decade, guys.
Pretty much.
Like he's been out almost since the mid-90s.
Yeah. And it's like it kills me. That's why I was like, it kills me. Again, I'm trying to keep myself from going on a rant. But that's the thing I don't understand. Like, I almost like the comic that we're going to be reviewing today regarding Green Lantern. To me, it's great. I love the story and what they're doing with it. But that's what we're going to go into momentarily. But I just want to say my piece on that, just because I'm sorry.
Slight correction. Alan Scott's son, Alan Scott's son is gay. And then later they also made Alan gay.
Okay. But even if it is,
only been gay for about a decade, but his son, Jade's brother, whose name escapes me at the moment, he's been gay since Jump Street.
And even,
So there's
but
that.
even so, like guys, if I like to think in the world of comics, if we are really, and I do mean if we are really accepting of stories, and we're wanting new stories to be told, and we wanting new characters, and we wanting new directions, you can't get mad when something simply doesn't fulfill your fantasy. That's just me, because that's what it is. It's fitting a narrative that you think makes you comfortable. And honestly, it still makes me comfortable. Reading Alan Scott Green Lantern will still make me comfortable. But how do you read something that's gay? Easy, because I'm not focused on the orientation. I'm focused on the goddamn story. Not that hard, folks. But hey, if you didn't like what we said, you know what you can do. But anyway, Joe, I'm sorry. You can go ahead, sir. What comics do you have for us this week?
Well, we have the return of Superman 30th anniversary. So, just a keynote, we did this a little bit ago with the Death of Superman 30th anniversary. This is
Mm-hmm.
not a retelling of this story. This is new stories that hinge on the old things. So, in the 30th anniversary of Death of Superman, a person got infected with the Doomsday clone, and Clark was fighting it again. It's not a facsimile or a trade. So this is a
Mm-hmm.
new story involving the four Supermen as Hank Henshaw attacks Star Labs and Steel, John, and a energy construct of Eradicator try to stop him because they think he's up to no good. And in reality, I actually kind of feel bad for Hank Henshaw on this because all he's trying to do is resurrect his wife and friends that died in a shuttle accident because
Mm-hmm.
Hank Henshaw, his wife, and his two friends are basically the Fantastic Four, but what if the cosmic rays killed him?
Yeah.
And then Hank Henshaw became Cyborg Superman because of the U.S. government or LexCorp or something. It's one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then it tells individual stories involving each character using old art, using the old art styles, and I believe some of the old writing crew. So Legacy is written by Dan Jurgens with Travis Moore and colors by Ardondo Lucas. That is uh, the main story. Then Speed is done by Louis Simonson with art by John Bogdanova,
Mm-hmm.
Bogdanov, with colors by Glenn Whitmore. That is the Steel storyline. Jerry Ordway, he had me thinking he was Superman, was Jerry Ordway with uh, doing both art and script. That was Eradicator, that's his name.
Yeah.
Metropolis Kid was done by Carl Cassell with art pencils by Tom Gromit with inks by Doug Hazelwood and colors by Glenn Whitmore. That's about Connor. And then the story wraps up again with Dan Jurgens and doing script and breakdown, Brett Bending doing finishes, and Elizabeth Brett Weiser doing colors. The other thing that ties this book together is they're all memories of these stories being told from the perspective of Perry White
Mm-hmm.
or members of the Daily Planet staff. Honestly, a good story. I think Steel was the most returned to form because gangbanger with a experimental LexCorp gun threatening the streets and Steel had to stop it.
Yeah.
Old school artwork. I love that. That really like that. All in all, good book. Again, I feel that Hank Henshaw remains the tragic villain because he either wants to bring his family back or he just wants to die and he can't die, which bothers him so much.
So it's kind of the Victor Freeze type of thing. But you're right. Uh, it was four very good stories. I did not expect, because usually on these anniversary collections, you got some of the stories are and then you got some really good ones, but really couldn't find any fault with all four of them. It was a good issue.
Oh yeah. Next up, we get The Supergirl special is written by Mariko Tamaki with art by Skylar Partridge and colors by Marissa Louise. This is a very similar story to Connor, where Supergirl feels out of place because now she feels lost in the crowd of the Super Friends. On top of that, she also feels inadequate because, like, she just always feels she's one step behind because Power Girl's there, and Power Girl is the older, alternate reality version of herself. And she's played with always being second best, even on Candor. We learn a new way to eat cupcakes. And it just kind of like fits itself out, and Kara gets her spirit back. It kind of, I honestly don't know how I feel about this one because Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is in continuity with Dawn of DC. And Kara went through enough as it is there. And so her coming back is like, I feel inadequate. It feels very out of place.
So let me ask you
Especially
this.
with like everything she just went through.
So yeah, let me ask you this. Did it not feel like a Tales of the Titan story?
Kinda, a little bit.
Okay, I'm not nuts. Okay, that's what I got from that.
I mean, the cool thing is we get to see her life in Argo City quite a bit in flashbacks. But still, I feel this being very weird and just kind of a rehash of Connor's story. Just told in one book as opposed to 6.
It just
I don't know why the Superman family needs to feel inadequate from each other when they're one large family.
Okay. The fact that it mirrors Connor's story kind of dims a little bit, in my opinion. Like, you can't give her a story of, you really can't give her an original story of her own. If you're gonna do that, then do that. But if you're just gonna cookie cutter copy a Superman, it just doesn't make any sense. But I mean, it doesn't take away from the fact.
It copies Connor in the fact that he feels inadequate and left out or replaced because John is there.
But that's what I'm saying.
What am I?
But that's what I'm saying. It's virtually the same thing. That's the problem I have with it. It's almost like it's really the same thing, and that's why I'm just like, there doesn't seem to be any difference here. Is what it is. It doesn't feel like there's any difference in it all. But again, it doesn't take away the fact that it's a good issue. It really doesn't. But just that part is the part where I'm stuck on.
It's really pretty. It's also really pretty to look at.
Artwork is amazing. I will definitely agree with that. Artwork is definitely amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's still good. It's just that's just
moving on over to what we just talked about, Alan Scott Green Lantern. Moving on over to Alan Scott Green Lantern #1. This is part of the Golden Age mini imprint. This is written by, where is everything? I hate that they do this in.
Oh yeah, you gotta zoom down on that one.
Written by Tim Sheridan. Art by, yeah, I hate it so much. I wish everything had a splash page. Art by Cyan Tormey, colors by Matt Herms. So this has been teased for a while. This is, and you kind of need to read Golden Age #1 to get the full story, because this also ties into the Golden Age Soviet Red Lantern. But pretty much Alan Scott is young, doing his work, and J. Edgar Hoover's like, look, Alan, we know who you are. We know what you're doing. We also know your sexual orientation. But I am J. Edgar Hoover. For those of you that don't know, go read a book. It's not banned.
Of all people, J. I was like, the moment he mentioned J. Edgar Hoover, that's why I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was gonna say the moment he mentioned J. Edgar Hoover, I'm like, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's J. Edgar Hoover. If you guys don't know who he is, go read his autobiography. He's white, so it's not banned. So I can say that. So J. Edgar Hoover's like, we also know your orientation. However, we're gonna let that slide. It's like, you're letting slide because it's you, J. Edgar Hoover. But we get a tale of what's going on with Alan currently, and a flashback to his time where he was with his lover on the naval ship he served on during World War II.
Mhm.
and all the bizarre elements that were going on, as I believe they were being assaulted by the Soviet Red Lantern, or the Red
Mhm.
Lantern was being held captive in their ship. That was the part that kind of confused me. It's like, is he in the ship or is he attacking the ship? Because it kind of seemed
He
like
was
A or B sometimes, depending on the panels.
well. I think he was. He's more attacking the ship because they tried to capture it. They tried to capture it, and when they did, that's when the ship was attacked. So that's why. So
Okay,
that's why.
like I said,
That's why I'm thinking
it was really weird.
yeah.
Still though, I recommend this book. Gorgeous representation matters. We're gonna
Hmm.
sing that song all the way until we croak.
Pretty much.
Representation matters, and it's just a good book. It's just a good Green Lantern story. And I'll tell you from Jump Street, when a Green Lantern book is good, I mean it's good.
I just this is the fact that you had Edgar Hoover of all people. That lets you know that Edgar Hoover was literally the Lex Luthor of the JSA at the time. He's like, I know exactly who you are, and I know who your friends are. And unless you want this picture to come out, you're gonna do a little something for me. I was like, I mean, you're historically accurate. Don't get me wrong, but that just goes to show you how much. Let me shuffle the come out to me. Go ahead, Joe.
No, that's pretty much it. We definitely recommend this book.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. This is kind of a two-parter. So this is Amazon Attacks.
Mm-hmm.
This is written by Josie Campbell with art by Vasco Georgiev and colors by Alex Guimaras.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first tie-in for the current storyline where the United States has banned all Amazons due to an Amazonian attack on a small town thing, and this is the repercussion. So Nubia
Mm-hmm.
goes to the United States to discuss with the president. Everyone's mind controlled. Uh, what is the Bengal Queen's?
Being
Well, it's
off.
right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What is her? Uh, Rukia?
Yeah,
Rukia?
yeah. For the Bing Doll,
The
here we go.
queen from Bonamando. Huh?
Oh, starts with an F. I forgot it already.
Yeah. So she's there. Yora Floor's there because all the Amazons are trying to figure out what's going on because Yora's shaman slash best friend saw horrible visions of all the women of the Amazonian tribe going nuts. The Benamengdo, I think they just want to be there ready for the fight. And
Pretty much.
Nubia is there to play peace. Well, that doesn't go well. And then Mary shows up because now Mary is empowered with all the Amazonian goddesses
Mm-hmm.
power her words of Shazam. So she is Amazonian by proxy.
Yeah.
Also, her talking rabbit is there.
But the
And
rabbit
Yora
was helping.
also keeps alluding that she has another name. We don't know who it is.
Yeah, but it was good. But I mean, for the story itself, it's leading right into as you're going to Wonder Woman. It does actually make sense because they are doing the Amazon attack story, which a lot of people are going to sit there and say, "Oh, this has been done before." Yes, it has, but look at the times it's been done versus now. I think this will be a better retelling of it. But I liked it. I like this. I like this issue of Amazon attacks. I think it's going to work well with Wonder Woman's story and ties that into it. But yeah, good issue.
I also got to say, DC's got the goal to use Amazon's attack after how horrible the last one was.
Yeah. I mean, it was, but hey, you get a chance to redeem yourself.
So next up is, where are you? You're not coming back. Wonder Woman #2, to which we both can say no, thank you, but not for the reason you're thinking of. So this is as soon as I can. My computer doesn't want to work with me. Come on, hide. This is written by Tom King with art by Dan Sinclair and colors by Tomio Mori.
Mhm.
So the long and short of this is Federal Steel has decided to escalate things and get the entire U.S. Army to fight Diana because Diana is now General Sergeant Steele's white whale. So it opens with Trevor. Trevor talking to Diana because he is a U.S. colonel, and just telling Diana, like, look, like, I know what you're capable of. These are all
Mhm.
good men. They're just doing what they're told. But we do have to take you in per the law of the United States, to which we do have to enforce. And I was like, I respect you. I respect that you are following your orders. I wish these meant no harm, but I will defend myself. So
What
the
did it
fight
say?
ensues, and then it flashes back to Diana fighting in the gladiatorial arena to gain the mantle of Wonder Woman
Mhm.
against a helmeted foe. And we see that Diana just tears apart the U.S. military. And the big theme of this is no, thank you. I do not want this, but you will make me do this.
Mhm.
The Amazonian fight goes the same way. Pretty much like, you need to yield. No, thank you.
Mhm.
And then I love the ending part where she tells these men, poor men, it's like, gentlemen, I respect what you're doing. You're fighting honorably. I honor and respect what you have done. But if you continue to do this, I will repeatedly drop Abram tanks on top of you. To which she proceeds to almost immediately does. And then, like, the book just flat out ends with Steve Trevor telling Sergeant Seals, like, so the guys are retreating, they are broken, and want no part of this.
Mhm. Oh, that part, that the whole thing was just him going up and just pleading, like, is there any way you could possibly surrender? No. Well, you do know he's gonna throw the entire army at you. Yeah. So you're still gonna go through with this? Yeah. Okay. And he goes right back over reports. I think like he smooth goes back over reports and is like, yeah, she's not surrendering. He's like, he's just the whole time like, you sent me over there. You knew who you were fighting. You knew who she was, and the fact that Sergeant Steele just couldn't let that go. But again, the fact that seeing Wonder Woman in as an outlaw, of course, is going to be different because they're very careful about shedding the light on who the culprit is that is actually causing the Amazons to be considered outlaws and being pursued and things of that nature. So I can't wait to see how that gets revealed. But it was great. It was a great issue. I got no complaints.
The other thing I love is that she is not taking this fight seriously. Her hair is not up.
Yeah.
This is like low dip. If you want to put in the Wonder Woman versus, this is, as we say, this is low diff at most.
Yeah. Because she doesn't want to kill. She
Yep.
this is probably the one time where she doesn't want to kill. She's pretty much, I mean, she's given fair warning, but she doesn't want to kill. So I guess that kind of adds into that.
And moving on over to Marvel, we have Uncanny Avengers #3, written by Jerry Dugan, Emilio Lasso doing art, and Maury Howell doing colors. Uh, this is kind of a little bit of all over the place, but still continues to build. Captain America gives a very rousing speech.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the Monette and Quicksilver face off against the Strucker twins. That way they can find out where they're going. Rogue's
Uh-huh.
kind of dealing with her own stuff, but like Steve smooths it over. Also, Deadpool's there.
Deadpool's
It's
at
fine.
Deadpool's the
Nothing
ready.
wrong with it.
Deadpool's at the ready. I'll give him that. But of course, Captain America always has to turn the crowd in his favor. And then you see Orcus and everyone else. It's like, we never. I was like, y'all really do be counting out Captain America just because he's not a mutant. Y'all really count this man out, not realizing that yeah, he has a plan. But no, it was a good issue. It was a good issue. I did like what they're doing with it. I am kind of worried because there are so many different arcs in Fall of X that I'm worried that some of the issues are going to feel a little flat while some of them are going to rise. So far, it hasn't happened. But this Uncanny Avengers, I did like it. So, good issue.
Mhm. Next up, we have Uncanny Spider-Man #2. This is written by Cy Spurrier, with art by Lee Garbett and colors by Matt Mila. Which I listened to a podcast today interviewed by Cy Spurrier, and Cy Spurrier did have something to say about this book. He considers it a highfalutin wankfest adventure. God bless that man. So, rather than Nightcrawler continues to avoid the whole mutant thing, and most importantly, therapy. Continues to go be stop people from muggers, just because like I don't want to be a part of it. I just want to do a nice thing and feel good about myself. Why
Yeah.
can't I just stop muggers? To which Rhino is. I don't know if Rhino's being mind controlled. Yeah, Rhino's being mind controlled because I keep forgetting.
Might be in my
Rhino's
control,
actually a good guy nowadays. Rhino's
yeah.
being mind controlled to fight Warren. I was almost about to say Miles because of the costume.
Yeah.
Silver Sable joins in, and Silver Sable kind of becomes Warren's own version of the Black Cat,
Yeah.
where they are just like immediately infatuated with each other, even to the point where she just has his tail. Like, why is it so soft? This is confusing. Which makes me laugh. And then, of course, Mystique is there too, also talking about a baby, which makes me wonder, is she talking about my Warren, or is she talking about another kid, meaning secret sibling? Other things, there are also maybe hints that Mystique may not be Warren's mother. It may, in fact, be Destiny, and Mystique was the father.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Mystique, so I mean, that's perfectly feasible. So,
It is slightly weird though. It's like this is the part where I was worried about where the story kind of gets a little like the whole idea of Warren trying to talk to Mystique and Mystique seems to be out of it, and at the same time, the whole thing with Rhino, I was like the Rhino being thrown in was a out of the blue mix, but I mean it wasn't. I mean it wasn't to the point to where it soured the story, but it was like, was it really necessary to have that right now?
well, it's just more compounding on Nightcrawler because, like I said, he's dealing with the fact that he's hiding that he's a mutant. He's one of the most highly wanted mutants because of the multiple murders committed by all those Nightcrawler lookalike clones from Sinister. He
Yeah.
doesn't want to deal with anything going on with Goa right now. He just wants to do good and feel good about doing good.
Yeah.
So fighting a Spider-Man villain, whomever it may be, thing, and even Silver Sable, who is hired by one of Orch's show companies, like, okay, so my employer's not on the up and up, and we need to get to the bottom of that. Like I said, the only thing that took me out of it for a hot second was Rhino, and it took me a moment to realize he's being mind controlled because as of late, Rhino's actually a good guy. Like, he's super chill and
Yeah.
friends with about most of the street level Marvel community. So it just kind of threw me off. I was like, why is Alexi doing this? Like, oh, mind control. Okay, I'm on board.
We're asking the same question, Obi. We asked the same question, but it's still a good issue though.
Indeed. Yep. X-Men #28. This is written by Jerry Dugan, art by Joshua Cassera, and colors by Marty Garcia. Just the plans finally slowing in motion for the X-Men to get back on their feet. Firestar gets Juggernaut to escape finally. Cyclops is on board and has fully been updated on everything Firestar is doing. Half of Roaches wants Firestar dead. Half of Roaches doesn't care that much about Firestar. Although it's super weird that Nimrod likes her, which is weird, but I'll roll with it. And then we see that Wolverine, Shadowcat, and Ms. Marvel are going to infiltrate Latveria because Doom has his own X-Men team.
I thought that was pretty interesting. Between Shadowcat and Wolverine, Shadowcat and Wolverine were definitely having issues, and Miss Marvel's in the middle of it, like, should I come back? Y'all look like y'all got some stuff y'all need to resolve. But Firestar finally putting in her plan. I love the fact how she went to Scott and was pretty much torturing him at the same time, giving him Morse code. Like, I am so sorry. This is you just hang in there. I can't get you, but let me get Juggernaut. And I'm like, I love the fact that she's saying I'm tapping on Morse code so he understands. And I'm like, okay. So finally the plan is starting to interact. And of course with Juggernaut,
I'm fairly
like,
certain the whole Morse code started with, "This is your wife's idea. Here's
yeah.
what's going on."
Hey, that's the best way to say it. And so when those eyes get unstitched, don't blast me. This was your wife's idea. I got nothing to do. I'm following orders. This has got nothing to do with me. But no, it's gonna be interesting what Dr. Doom does. He's like, where are we? You are in Latveria, my child. And again, it goes back to the whole thing we kept saying. We don't need an actor for Doom. We just need a voice. The suit takes care of itself.
Yep.
It was a good issue, though.
It doesn't matter what race Doom is. Well, I mean, it kind of matters what race Doom is, but make it vaguely European. But like the actor, it doesn't matter what race they are, as long as they can do a vague European accent.
If it's as long as he's got an epic voice, he just has to have that right type of evil villain monologuing voice. That's it. That's all he needs.
It could even be MF Doom. He's already halfway there. He has his own Doom bots.
That is also true. But that'll be interesting. But no, it was a good issue. That's why I can't wait to read the next part of Fall of X. As they announced the Marvels,
I love it so much.
As they announced the Marvels will be in theaters in 7 days. Again, heavy advertising. But go ahead, Joe.
And final book of the night is Dark X-Men number 3. This is written by Steve Fox with art by Jonas Sharf. And colors by Frank Martin. So Maddie and the team are still fighting Orchis. They have accidentally gotten the Morlocks involved in the things. Over in Madripoor, meanwhile, another small branch of mutants is being kept safe by a mutant who has plant-based powers, meaning she has control over mushrooms and spores, which does some things and gives them nightmares. Maddie, being Maddie, does not really care about being stuck in a nightmare. She's like, well, I've been here before. I know what to do. Alex's body clearly is not taking too well from being reanimated / healed ? Because when he tries to blast, part of his arms start to bubble over.
Yeah.
And Gambit has to also make a hard choice, which kills Warren. Orchis, which is not going too happy with the fact of things going on, using that otherworld version of Madeline Pryor. Finally, it's like, all right, we can't deal them with mutants. Let's try something else, which then snaps back the Chasm.
Yeah.
/ Ben Reilly, which I've been saying from Jump Street. I knew Ben was going to be in this book somehow because Nick Lowe, the Spider-Man editor, wants nothing to do with Ben Reilly, so he's up to grab in any other department, which I say I'm more on board with it than anything because, if they're not going to use them, let somebody else use them. And use them better than the Spider-Man department would.
That's fair. I can see that. But again, this poor Ben. Ben can't catch a break. This lets me know that pretty much anybody that gets Spider-Man or gets Scarlet Spider just has to write the worst tragedy ever. It's like you can't get memories, you can't lead normal life. You're basically the Venom of the story, and now they're about to use you as a weapon. Nice. If Can't Catch a Break had a dictionary picture, it'd be him.
This is true. Everything else, I'm loving this book. It's got that same still feels that same feeling of Hellions. I'm enjoying it still. This is just right up my alley. I love Maddie just being nonchalant about so much going wrong in this book. She's like, yeah, I know how this works.
Still, it's
she's just saying. It's that Bane joke from which one I was like, oh, you think you're in the darkness? I was born in it. And I'm like, No, I believe that with Madeline Pryor with all my heart and soul.
Yeah, but at the same time, as Alex looking around, it's like, don't worry, darling. It's on the inside. It's what's on the inside that counts. I was like, you're about to fall apart. It's like Havoc, you're about 2 key blasts away from falling apart. I don't think that body
So
was
you're
made to
going to really
last.
need to find a 5.
Yeah, but no, it was a good story. So that, like I said, I was so worried about these Fall of X stories kind of going to the wayside. But again, every issue from every other line has really been good. So I can't knock it.
Yep. The only other thing I can add in real quick, the new Amazing Spider-Man came out. It went back to rec rap, so that means the story sucks again.
Yeah.
We also get to see Luke Cage having to deal with Madeline Pryor in her limbo embassy, with Madeline forcing Luke Cage to sit on a tiny chair, which was hilarious.
Oh dear God, that's gonna be something else.
Oh no, he even says, like, could you have gotten me a tinier chair? She goes, yes, I could have. But since you're the mayor of New York and our city, her city, I decided to treat you with a modicum of respect.
That's respect. That sounds petty. All right. Well, Lord, thank you, Joe.
I
Thank
mean,
you,
it's
Joe.
Madeline Pryor.
I mean, true. She is the queen of petty. I can't knock that. But thank you, Joe, for those comic book pull service. Really appreciate it. As always, guys, we do want to shout out to Rick's Comic City, located in Nashville. Going number one place for comic books in Nashville for the last 6 years in a row. You can definitely check out their 2 locations: one in Nashville, one in Nashville, one in Clarksville, Tennessee. Of course, Locker Nerd is at Fort Campbell for all your needs. Of course, the website there, rickscomiccity.com. You can definitely check them out there, as you can get graded comic books, comic pools, gift cards, things of that nature, anime, multimedia, Funko Pops, which I didn't realize how big of a thing they were until Music City Con not too long ago. But definitely check them out if you're in the Middle Tennessee area. If you are not in the Middle Tennessee area, as we always say on GetBit, please, guys, support your local comic book stores, support your local libraries. They are the last places to where you can get comics, media, anime, mangas. And again, we say it all the time here, and not because on the library card, it's because we love saying it best. Read the banned books, kids. Only because right these days and age, there are people out there that are trying to prevent you from reading books. And me and Joe on the Give It podcast always say, read the banned books, because there's something in there they don't want you to learn that you should learn, and you'll be better for it. So as we wrap this up, guys, again, Joe, anything you want people to know about what you're doing this weekend?
Sleep, because Halloween season is over, so that means I can take the proton pack out of the backseat of my car finally.
Oh yeah, you was on a whirlwind tour, sir.
I could not even muster
that.
strength to go to Music City Multicon last week. I was so tired.
I don't blame you. Although Music Multicon was really fun. Got to see a lot of good friends there, and of course the comic not the comic book selection, but that's actually the con that has a lot of video games. Again, parents, if you have kids and you want to see your kids struggle at arcade games from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, take your kids to that. You will be thoroughly entertained. Lord knows I was with my son and my 2 nephews. But again, they loved it there. They had fun as usual. And I keep on stressing this very heavily, guys. If there's a con in your area, please go to one. If you know someone that's ever been there, invite them, take them. They actually may have fun. But aside from that, Joe, anything else you got going on your YouTube pages or streams?
No, I'm still waiting for Spider-Man to get New Game Plus before I stream any of that or put it on YouTube. Because I just want to have the fun of having everything and then just like dunking on everybody.
Nice. Well, knowing you're probably gonna be one-shotting everybody. But again, guys, if you do want to catch Joe, again, his Twitch page, Joe will tell you the last name. You can definitely check him out there. It's going to be streaming once he gets that New Game Plus. Also, he also does Street Fighter 6 as well, because Joe is way up in level. Are you still at silver or gold? Or you remember?
I am gold 4 with Manon and silver 4 with Aki.
Gotcha. But definitely check him out. Also, his YouTube page at Total Justice Gaming. Definitely like, share, and subscribe to that. Also, guys, I do want to point this out as well, because As we all, as I'm a part of this, I know Joe will soon be a part of this as well. Blurredstation.com. If you don't know what blurredstation.com is, guys, let me point this out. You ever get tired of Netflix, Hulu, things of that nature, where you're going to be paying higher prices if you're not already, but content is disappearing? Well, Blur Station wants to do something about that. Blur Station is a new content creation series that will definitely be, it's already out. That actually has a few things of content on there. Undead Horizon, issue number 1, which is hosted by Hellspawn.cosplay. A lot of great things. And the beauty part about this, guys, it's only $10.99 a month. So if you would ever be so inclined, and once you go to join now, if you'll just select Blurred's Eye View Affinity Membership, and once you get there, there's a certain name I want you to find. Basically, me, Black Spartan under Influencer Partner. And as you can see, guys, it is $10.99 every month. Yes, $10.99 a month. You can still get fast food after you pay for Blurred Station. But definitely select me as the Affinity Influence Partner. I would certainly associate that under Bird's Eye View. Also, what it means for Affinity, guys, basically, as you see here at the bottom, if after 36 months of paying $10 a month for Blurred Station, you'll get the one thing that no other streaming service does. You could actually own a piece of Blur Station. You ever own a part of Netflix? You ever want to own a part of Hulu? Well, now's your chance to do it. So definitely check out blurredstation.com. Once you get the chance, guys, again, you will not be disappointed. Shout out to Big BZA Dot as well for the beats and things of that nature. We do have new music and intros coming along the way. Your boy just has to get started on that. Also, myself, Blackbox447. You can find me on mostly all socials. I do reviews on almost everything, but definitely check us out there. The link at the bottom, I'll make that just a wee bit bigger for you guys to see. If you copy and paste that link into your browser, it'll take you to the link here. There's YouTube and Facebook groups for all of our podcasts. How the Fact We Got Here, Get Bit, and of course, Off Limits podcast, which I'm bringing that back because there's a lot of topics to talk about. But definitely check that out. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell people about it. Word of mouth is a wonderful thing. Aside from that, guys, like we said, con season is still mulling in effect. 3 simple rules I simply do have that I wish everybody would follow. Number 1, respect the cosplayer at all times. Number 2, hygiene is important. Please wash your behind, use some mouthwash and some soap. And number 3 is the same rule that I apply to myself that I apply from everyone else, which is basically be kind. Be kind, be nice. In the words of Will Wheaton, don't be a dick, and we'll all be cool. But as we wrap this up, guys, we'll be back here at the same on Friday, saying Get Bit time, saying Get Bit channel. But as we wrap this up, Joe, anything else? Oh, that's a maybe. Oh,
well, next week is Marvels on Friday.
Oh, we might have to work that out. But with that being said, as Obi is very vocal right now, any last words, Joe, before we call tonight?
No, I'm just gonna go watch me that 10-minute Godzilla versus Megalon mini movie.
Nice. We're definitely gonna talk about that as well. But like you guys, as we close out, guys, on Get Bit, the whole thing is about fandoms. We know them, we love them. All we ask is that you share them. We don't want any toxicity. If you like something, cool. If you don't like it, don't ruin it for somebody else. What we're basically saying is, guys, share it. If we all have fandoms, maybe there could be a peace, and maybe we can all get along. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll all be cool. He's been Joe. I've been Will. This has been the Get It Podcast for tonight, guys. Take care. Peace.